How do you fall out of love with country music? Sorry, it just occurred to me because I think I fell out of love when I walked in here tonight. I've never been in here before, but I've guessed you can always tell a honky-tonk by whatever's playing on the jukebox when you walk through the door. Tonight, it was a song by the immortal George Jones, and I had... Yep. Mr. Jones does deserve some sort of applause. Most of you know exactly who he was. Some of you don't, especially if you're a young one like me. But you should know him. He's pretty much as legendary a country music legend as you can legendize.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know all the old school singers. Country radio's how I learned how to speak the special type of English y'all speak around here. Shout out to WBRF! Woo! Classic country radio out of Virginia. But I guess George Jones is kind of triggering for me. I know some of you know the word the way I mean it, something that brings up bad feelings. Some of you might think of going shooting. I know it's a mixed ground here. When I heard his voice, I'll be honest, I almost turned around and walked out. Yeah, that bad. Don't get me wrong, George Jones had an unbeatable voice. A pure mellifluous tone. That's a good word, isn't it? Mellifluous? It sounds exactly like what it's describing. You see, you come out for a music night and you get a word of the day. That's some kind of value. If you don't know George Jones, you don't know country music. I'm sorry. My father tells me I can be very opinionated, but that's just factual. Speaking of country music legends, how about that Charlie Pride? Yeah! He also happened to be a black African American. I'm brown. I guess I can call him a black gentleman. Not that it has anything to do with his amazing talent. But we know it couldn't have been easy for him, right? He and Jones were friends. They did duets. Charlie remembered George fondly. But you know what else he remembered? The time that George Jones painted the letters KKK on Pride's car. Yep, that happened. Jones was drunk that night. Pride was too, actually. I can sense you squirming. I can always tell it's kind of like a superpower. I don't know if this little anecdote is making you uncomfortable, or if I'm talking too much, or if you don't want to see someone who looks like me up here. But maybe you understand why my feelings towards George Jones are a little complicated. I mean, Pride won the CMAs, man. He won the Grammys. He sang at the Grand Ole Opry. He was beloved. But even he had to wake up to the letters KKK painted on his car by a drunk who was supposed to be his friend. So, I have to ask myself, what kind of chance does someone like me have? Yeah, I know it's a spectrum. I know. You've got George Jones, and then you've got the Dixie Chicks.
Boo!
Was that a boo? Sure, go ahead. You can let it out.
Boo!
There you go. I'm sure that felt better, sir.
Boo!
You do, ma'am? Sure, the Dixie Chicks are controversial. And don't worry, I won't disrespect any presidents you might admire. And of course, they call themselves the chicks now because, they understood that the word Dixie makes some people think of slavery. So, Lord, if you just did the cringe thing again. Feeling triggered? I thought so. You all seemed more like a George Jones kind of crowd to me. I knew even before I walked in. Every time I get booked in a new joint, I kind of check out the county, just test the waters. Little things like how people voted. And most of you voted a way that makes me wonder what I'm even doing up here. No, I don't mean to say that you don't look like decent people. Not at all. But I just keep wondering if at some point someone is really, gonna just express themselves and, I don't know, say something like, go back to the Taliban. Pretty funny, right? Maybe you're sad you didn't think of it first. Or maybe one of you is gonna dig real deep in your outrage and dig out an old chestnut. It's a word that pride had thrown at him a lot. Except in my case, you would put the word sand in front of it. No takers tonight? Well, we'll see where we get. I'm not supposed to sing country music. And if I do sing country, it should be about the country where I come from, which is India, in case anybody was wondering. Not to get too detailed, but my family's from a part of India called Punjab. Punjabis, right? The one with the turbans. A few things you should know about Punjabis. A lot of them are truck drivers. A lot of them are farmers, and they drink more in Punjab than any other part of India.
All right.
All right. Yeah. Usually a beer or something. Really bad kind of whiskey they distill themselves. Kind of like moonshine. We also have a reputation of being kind of uneducated and dumb. And people all over India make fun of Punjabis, but we can take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a few people can relate to some of those things, right? But don't worry, it's not gonna be, Oh, wait. Have you heard the Punjabi who studied rocket science? Neither have I. Okay guys, that was a joke. Because Punjabis are considered too dumb to study rocket. Oh my god. I'm hearing crickets. There's an actual cricket. This place is really way out here. Don't worry. This isn't gonna be we're all a lot more similar than we're different kind of lecture, but I want to talk about country music. I want to talk about heartaches and disappointments and how tough it is trying to find a job and then doing a job and losing a job, and how maybe falling in love didn't kill you today, but it'll probably kill you eventually. And how most of the times everyone thinks they know you, but nobody really knows you. We've all felt those things, and that's what keeps trying to get out of me when I sing. Okay, when I told you this wasn't gonna be a we're all a lot more similar than we're different kind of lecture, I lied. But you know what doesn't lie? Music. For me, the most natural thing is to say everything I want to say through the music that I grew to love. You know why the pedal steel is such a big part of country and western? I see a couple of you ready to tell me. Especially you there in the second row. I can see your professorial look on. Just hold on a second, Dr. Wikipedia. I'll get back to you. So I want to share my theory. I think the pedal steel is so popular in country and western because it sounds the most like a human being wailing in grief. But you might not think I get it. You're sure I'll never get it, just based on how I look or where my people come from or how I eat too much chicken tikka masala to ever deserve to come up here and sing curry. Country. To sing country. I know that, and it makes me not want to be here. Who sticks around when they're not welcome? Loving something that doesn't love you back, well, I think that's pathetic. But you know what else I think it is? I think it's kind of country. How do you fall out of love with country music? I guess the answer is who the hell told me to fall in love with it in the first place. I talk too much. Have you heard the one about the Punjabi who became the country and western singer? I have. And it goes a little something like this.